You think you've seen crazy? Well, that's cute and awfully naive of you. How dare you think that you've seen crazy before coming in here and knowing what crazy truly is? Because I'm about to show you. Crazy is a multitude of things. Crazy is what I was once before they locked me into a rubber room with rats, and those rats made me crazy. Crazy is also filming this for a couple minutes before this and realizing my microphone was turned off. Crazy is also speaking into a microphone where nobody around you is listening until many days later. These are all things that show craziness, and these are all things that describe this current situation. But without any further ado on that, we'll have to get into this video and talk about some more. So I found this video on Reels, and I wanted to get more information about it because the whole situation just seemed so ridiculous. We're basically on board a police cruiser right now. This is a dash cam video. And we're currently trying to pull over this silver Dodge Challenger up here in front of us. And this has to be one of the worst escape attempts I've ever seen a human being do. Now, off the bat here, you're probably looking at me like, Aiden, what are you talking about? You are lying to my face right now. He even put on his signal to get on the freeway. Nice road rules while this cop is behind it. What could he possibly have been doing? And to that I respond, how dare you talk back to me? That couldn't be any further from the truth. So giving a little backstory up until this point, this guy up in front of us is a man named Carlos. He is driving a silver Dodge Challenger, that Scat Pack. Nice power underneath him there. But pretty much what he was doing was driving recklessly along a road somewhere in Tennessee is where this happened. And the cop noticed. Cop turned on the lights, went to kind of pull him over, just kind of, simple road stop as I imagine it would have been. And Carlos here decided that he was going to ignore the police lights and continue driving recklessly, which obviously at the start of this video hasn't quite happened. But let's see if that starts to change here once Carlos realizes that this police cruiser's following him onto the freeway. So Carlos here was simply playing the innocent card. He was holding on to his alt until he could release it on the open freeway. He sees daylight and just punches that throttle and immediately loops himself and goes off into the dirt and is still just committing to too much throttle and just really overspinning this car. And now he's facing backwards on the freeway, still trying to run from this cop who's now just parked in front of him, waiting to see what he's gonna do next here. So now we find ourselves in the exact same position we were in a few seconds ago. This guy cannot, for the life of him, let go of the throttle. He found himself facing the other way, the cop's right in front of him, so he jams on the throttle again, spins back around behind the cop to then face forward and go the correct direction, and still is just way too committed to throttle while steering this car and just keeps losing the rear end. This is something I've seen a lot in my line of work. A lot of times I'll have guests do exercises of low friction, and a lot of times when it comes to putting that power down and holding that slide while continuing your forward momentum, a lot of times these people just don't understand that when you're sliding and you're still holding that throttle, the car is going to continue to rotate around. If he was going to continue to go forward here, not like I want to give a criminal tips, but this is mainly tips for driving in general. If you find yourself rotating and, say you want to continue the slide, whether you do or you don't, you have to lift off of that throttle at least a little bit when the car comes out sideways. because adding that extra throttle when the car's already sideways, it's continuing that momentum around, and you're just going to keep looping yourself unless you start working with throttle control, which this guy obviously isn't. He's also in a total panic here. He's trying to run from the police, and he's completely lost his composure, which is very clear from the way he's driving here. And he just cannot let off enough to get those rear tires hooked up to just try and make this stupid move that he's doing, and he's just making himself look even more stupid. It's so funny. Now, some of you may be sitting here looking at this going, come on. I've seen way more ridiculous things from a police chase. This guy's just out of control. He's just doing donuts. He hasn't even hit anything yet. What could he possibly do next? Well, buddy, do I have news for you. That's right. He still stays in the throttle. Hasn't unwound the wheel from the right-hand side, so he's still turning to the right and just drives directly into the police cruiser that he's actively trying to avoid and wrecks his own car along with the police cruiser. And you can still hear him spinning tires behind the police car. It is unbelievable. This guy just cannot for the life of him get out of the throttle. I can't believe he even managed to drive a car with this much power long enough to get in trouble with the police. I can't even believe he managed to drive it off of the dealership lot without losing control. It's unreal. Now, as police activity here in the description points out, it seems like after just really losing control and just embarrassing himself for far too long, Carlos finally came to his senses and surrendered to the authorities, and he was charged on 4 different accounts, one of them being aggravated assault on an officer. Just really going in there Pokemon trainer style, gotta catch them all, just grabbing as many charges as he could on the way out. I think this really would have just been a simple reckless driving ticket, and he decided to run and drive even worse than he probably was when he was going to get pulled over, and caught himself an assault on an officer charge along with whatever those other 3 charges are. Obviously one of them being reckless driving, maybe another one speeding, but this is pretty much all the information I have on the case here. I really just wanted to spotlight this and talk about the driving a little bit, because it just really shows driving in a panic and how embarrassing you can look if you don't have your wits about you when you're driving. This is obviously a very deserved case. He deserved to get pulled over here. It just was such a wacky dash cam. I just really wanted to share it and talk about the ridiculousness of the driving here a little bit. That's pretty much it. Glad you guys could watch. I'll see y'all later.